So this is a Sola Church deeper dive. We started a series on Sunday called Level Up. We're going to make our way through the New Testament book of James. And we talked about how during the week, I'll try to do a couple videos like this where I fill in some of the stuff that, we can't get to on a Sunday morning. So James was written by James. There were actually lots of people named James in the New Testament. Two of Jesus' disciples were named James. One, James, the brother of John. Another, James, the son of Alphaeus. And another of Jesus' disciples was the son of a James. So there are actually several others. But as we learned on Sunday, the James who wrote the book of James is the half-brother of Jesus. You might be curious why I would call him Jesus' half-brother. That's because they had the same mother, Mary, but not the same father. Jesus didn't have a biological father. Joseph, who was James's biological father, was Jesus' stepfather. Jesus' birth was a miracle birth. We call it the virgin birth. And Jesus was born of a virgin not only to fulfill the ancient Hebrew prophecy, but because it was necessary. If Jesus had a human father, a biological father, like you or me, then he would have been fallen like you or me and would have needed someone to take his place on the cross. But we needed him to take our place on the cross. And he, of course, died that substitutionary death on the cross in your place and in mine. We talked a little bit about how that brings up that the idea that Jesus had a half-brother named James, that brings up that Jesus had siblings. Not everyone is aware of that. There are multiple references in the New Testament to Jesus' siblings. We said that he had 4 brothers and at least 3 sisters. So the primary verse I would point you to, if you want to check that out, is Mark 6, verse 3. It names all 4 brothers and then refers to sisters, plural. So that's why we understand from that there were at least 2. We said that the book was written to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. We said that refers to Jewish Christians who by this time had been scattered throughout the Roman Empire. And the reason I mention that, the reason we revisit that quickly here today, is because that makes the book of James what's known as a general epistle. So in the New Testament, you have the historical books. You have 4 Gospels, each of which tell the story of Jesus from a different point of view: Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Then you have the book of Acts, which talks about the spread of Christianity through the Roman Empire. But after that come a bunch of letters, most of them written by Paul. And epistle is just another word for letter. So most of Paul's epistles were written to churches or to the pastors of churches. But we have other epistles like James that were written to a broader or more general audience. That's why we call them the general epistles. So James is the first of 7 general epistles. You have James, you have 1st and 2nd Peter, you have 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, and then you have Jude, which coincidentally was also written by a half-brother of Jesus. So the general epistles, or sometimes they're even called the Catholic epistles, which is not a reference to the Roman Catholic Church, but to the word Catholic meaning universal, so same as general. It was written super early. It's thought that James was martyred in 62 AD, and there's no reference in James to what we know as the Jerusalem Council, described in Acts 15, which is typically dated around 48 AD. So, James had to have been written in the 50s, as opposed to the 60s, and likely even in the 40s AD, which means not long at all after Jesus had lived and, of course, been crucified, but then risen from the dead and ascended into heaven. Very short time lapse. That's one of the things that makes the New Testament books so compelling, is that they are written so soon after these things happened by eyewitnesses or people who knew eyewitnesses, or while eyewitnesses obviously were still living. So again, that puts James real early. The only other thing I'm going to say for this deeper dive is that you'll notice in the book, if you're going to journey with us, I want you to look for, like as you read ahead, look for how conversant James is with the Jewish Bible, with the Old Testament. He's so conversant in Torah and in the wisdom books. Also, very, very familiar with the teachings of his brother Jesus, particularly the Sermon on the Mount. So you can look for either direct references or oftentimes even just allusions to, the books of Moses or to those wisdom books, the wisdom literature. Job, Proverbs will pop up frequently in James. And then also to similar allusions to the Sermon on the Mount as recorded in Matthew 6 through 8. This is a deeper dive. Hope you guys enjoyed it. More to come. Can't wait to see you Sunday online, solachurch.life, 10 a.m. Pacific. Bless you guys.